The air on Krakoa hung heavy, not with the usual fragrant bloom of the island, but with the suffocating silence of an impossible choice. Professor Charles Xavier stood at the precipice of a decision that would either save a world or condemn his people. Orcus, that relentless human supremacist organization, had laid down an ultimatum, clear and chilling. Send every mutant on Earth through the newly opened gateway portals to the war-torn, desolate planet of Araco, or face the immediate, global slaughter of millions of innocent humans. The images Orcus had broadcast, projections of cities burning, populations screaming, were vivid and irrefutable. Charles, with his unparalleled telepathic reach, felt the pulse of every human heart threatened, their fears echoing in his mind like a symphony of despair. He had pleaded, he had argued, he had sought every conceivable alternative, but Orcus was unyielding. Their demand was absolute, their threat credible. He was caught in a trap of his own making, a champion of both humanity and mutantkind, forced to choose between the two. The weight of billions of lives pressed down on him, a crushing burden that threatened to extinguish his very spirit. To allow humanity to be extinguished for the sake of mutant pride felt like a betrayal of his deepest principles. Yet to exile his own people, to force them from their home, was a wound he knew would never heal. With a deep, shuddering breath, Charles made his decision. It was not one of hope, but of grim necessity. He would comply. He would save humanity, even if it meant sacrificing the dreams and desires of his own kind. His heart shattered into a million pieces at the thought, but his resolve, born of compassion and a terrible sense of responsibility, held firm. He would be the instrument of their exodus, the shepherd leading his flock into the wilderness, all to spare another flock from the slaughter. He took his position, a figure of profound sorrow, standing before the shimmering portals. He reached out, his mind a vast, intricate web of consciousness, touching every mutant on Earth, no matter where they were, no matter what they were doing. The raw power required for this singular act was immense, a telepathic tidal wave that surged across continents, oceans, and even beyond. He felt their surprise, their confusion, their dawning horror as his command took hold. It was not a request, not an invitation, but a force of will so overwhelming, so absolute, that resistance was impossible. Against their conscious wishes, against their very instincts, mutants began to move. From bustling cities, from quiet homes, from hidden enclaves, they rose. Their faces were etched with confusion, defiance, and a chilling obedience they could not fight. They walked, a silent, somber procession, towards the nearest gateway portals, their steps heavy, their eyes vacant as they were compelled forward. Charles saw them, felt them, an endless stream of his people, his children, stepping into the unknown. Each step was a dagger in his heart, each forced passage a scream that only he could hear. He was their leader, their protector, and now their unwilling jailer, consigning them to exile. As the last of them, a young mutant barely old enough to control her powers, stepped through a portal, a strange sensation crept over Charles. It began subtly, a faint whisper of unease, then growing into a chilling void. He tried to sense the young mutant's presence on the other side, to feel her familiar mental signature, but there was nothing. A cold dread began to coil in his stomach. He reached out further, sweeping his mind across the supposed location of Araco, searching for the millions of mutant minds he had just sent there. The silence that met his telepathic probe was absolute, deafening. There was no bustling psychic energy, no distinct consciousnesses, no faint echoes of their fears or hopes. Nothing. He strained, pushing his powers to their very limit, searching every corner of the planet, every dimension he could perceive, Still nothing. The space where millions of minds should have been was utterly, terrifyingly empty. A horrifying realization dawned on him, cold and merciless, like a shard of ice piercing his soul. Orcus hadn't just demanded exile, they had orchestrated an elaborate, cruel deception. The portals hadn't led to Araco at all. They had led nowhere. Or perhaps to a place from which no one could return. He had been tricked. He had been manipulated into becoming the executor of his own people. He hadn't saved them. He had murdered them. Every single one. The weight of it was unbearable. The world spun. His telepathic power, which had moments before commanded a planet of minds, now felt like a leaden burden, a tool that had facilitated unimaginable horror. He sank to his knees on the desolate soil of Krakoa, now truly abandoned. The vibrant, living island, once teeming with the unique energy of mutant life, was now silent, sterile. The air, once heavy with the weight of an impossible choice, was now an empty, echoing tomb. He was alone, utterly and completely alone, on an island that had once pulsed with the heartbeats of his kind, a kind he now believed he had extinguished with his own hand. Professor Charles Xavier, the dreamer, the leader, the telepath, was broken. He was the man who had murdered his own kind. This profound moment in Professor X's journey reminds us of the terrible cost of leadership, the impossible choices demanded by desperate times, and the shattering consequences when even the purest intentions are twisted by the malevolent forces of others. It's a story of ultimate betrayal, not just by an enemy, but by the very path one chooses in the name of the greater good. What do you think about Professor X's decision and the tragic outcome? Could he have chosen differently? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this exploration compelling, consider liking this video and subscribing for more journeys into the complex narratives of our favorite characters.